Nigerian Rugby Football Federation, Dr. Ademola Are. Sir, it's good to have you on Grants on Mega Sports Show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure being around.
Thank you, sir. We'll go straight to the major issue that is we are looking forward to, which is the International Coaching Seminar built for next month, February. So, sir, how are we preparing for it, and what are we hoping to achieve from it? I know it's meant to engage Nigerian coaches and build their capacity. So, what more are we looking at, sir?
Yes, thank you. Not necessarily for Nigerian coaches. This is more like anti-doping thing, which affects everybody that is involved in sports. Whether you are an athlete, you are a coach, you are a referee, you are an administrator, issue of anti-doping cuts across all strata of stakeholders in sports. Apart from that, we are now concentrating on certification program on medicals for rugby. That is why the medical people, because we have specific areas, specific knowledge about rugby and medical. Even if you're a medical person, you cannot just dabble into the game of rugby. You know, it's a very volatile and contact sports that at any point in time you can twist your neck, you can break your spinal cord. And so we have this targeted audience that we are really looking for, and they are all scattered all over the country. So we are reaching out to them. We want to bring them in, and we have instructor certified by the African Rugby and World Rugby that is coming to take them on all these issues.
Okay, sir. I know these are all mere get at building capacity, and looking inward now, grassroots development, sir. Your plans. I don't want to ask you what are your programs for the year. I know that those are, you definitely have plans for grassroots development. So what specifically are we looking at in terms of growing the game of rugby in Nigeria?
Yes, we have come a very long way. Rugby has been at the pinnacle before, and unfortunately we find ourselves where we are today. It has not been very easy to really kickstart most of the programs. We don't want to start a program and along the line we stop doing what we're expected to do, and that is why we are taking it gradually from the foundation. If you notice, we followed the due process to ensure that Nigeria was called back into the fold of rugby playing nations. The ban was lifted. After the ban, we did the constitution accepted by everybody before the ban was lifted. After following the processing for lifting of the ban, we now sat down. Who are the important people in this game of rugby? The technical officials, all the stakeholders, whether you are a medical, you are a coach, you are a referee. We want to have this pool of individuals at alert, because once the program starts, it's going to be a non-stop thing. So we want to do that, and once we're able to put that in place, definitely grassroots is where there is passion from this end, and the ministry that is also supporting us is very passionate about this. And for your information, we have MOU with SYDA and African Sports Connect in South Africa, and they're also very passionate about grassroots. We actually intend getting sports equipment in rugby to share to our zonal offices, from where they will now send them, you know, to cascade down to all the states, especially among the school children. So that is what we really have in mind to do, but then it all costs money. So we are taking it gradually. Once we finish the anti-doping medical seminar, we want to go into the league. We want to go into male-female national competition in Asaba. We've gotten the note in principle, and we just need to get the paper and the cash before we start speculating and telling people, come to Asaba on so day. But these are some of the things we have on ground, and I can assure you, all things being equal, elections will come, elections will go. Then we can now kickstart our programs.
Thank you, sir. I'll talk about the league later, but I just quickly want to ask you about the South African experience. You know, you mentioned it. Yeah, I know you were there. You were there sometime late last year, thereabout. And yeah, apart from what you just mentioned, what other benefits and what were other the fallouts of your trip to South Africa?
Yes, the major fallout of that trip to South Africa is that Mr. Thabo Kubu, who is the chairman of Africa Sports Connect, is very passionate about developing rugby in Nigeria. When you talk about Mr. Maku, who is the chairperson of SYDA, these are people that are interested in seeing to the development of rugby in the country. And day in, day out, we talk on areas of possible collaborations. They are looking for the funds over there. We are putting the programs together here. So we have to marry ourselves, whether we like it or not, to ensure that we deliver the dividends of rugby to Nigerians. Before we put out some of these programs, we have agreed on almost all of them. The marketers or the financiers and Nigerian rugby. And once we fully come to terms with the benefits and objectives behind these programs, like I said, we will start implementing them. The South African experience is such that you could see the level of development of rugby in South Africa. It will take us some years before we get there. But if we take our time, not rushing things, gradually bearing in mind that the government cannot do everything for us, and with the little we are having, we want to make sure we take our time to do these things. We'll definitely get it done.
Yes, sir. Now let's come to the league, and I know, like you mentioned, you're already preparing for it, and arrangements being made. What are we looking at in terms of this year's league?
Yes.
What are we hoping to achieve from it? Because I know that looking at the facilities available, marrying it with clubs that are up to standard to give you competitive and standard rugby matches. What are we looking at in terms of total package?
Yes, I can tell you that in Nigeria today, we have a group of people that are very passionate about rugby, especially the club owners. They are scattered all over the country. And these are the same people that will ensure that the league comes to stay. When we talk about league in rugby, it's unlike football, that you travel every weekend to go and play matches. What we would have is, we have Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, and Western Hemisphere. All the clubs in the north, they come together, play among themselves. Major challenge has always been funding. So once we can provide funding for their refreshments and their trips, then they will be playing their own league over there, while in the southern part, we'll be playing our own league. And the winners will now come together, then we have the Super Four. That is the way they do it. It might just be for like 3 months or 4 months in a year, but that is the way. And the only way we can do it effectively is to make sure we give them necessary funds to do their thing the way they've been doing it. By the time we really settle down, when I say settle down, when we are very buoyant in terms of funding, then we can decide to bring 10 teams to Abuja to come and play. By the time you bring 10 teams, you want to take care of their accommodation, feeding, transport, security, media, so many things. It's a lot of money. So we just have to do it the way we have been doing it before. So that we can. And the main objective, apart from giving the players opportunities to hone their skills, we use that period to select players that can effectively represent this country, especially amongst the women.
I was coming to that. National team.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we looking at? Those are really very
We have the players.
vibrant national team.
We have the players, like I said, they need to be more exposed. It's unlike maybe when an athlete is going for table tennis, only one athlete. It's different from when you are taking about 30 players to go out. You need to buy equipment, you need to feed them, pay them allowance, give them accommodation, and the fund is just very, very limited. So we really need to pick the few ones that we know can help us. And bear in mind that we also have athletes outside the shores of this country who are doing very well. We are reaching out to them. We are looking for their assistance too, so that we can do what we have to do. But kudos must always be given to those individuals and clubs, organizations that are doing rugby in the country. They are really making us proud. They are doing all they can, and they keep on flying the flag. So I say a very big thank you to them. We'll still get to meet sometimes within the year so that we can harmonize all our programs and activities together.
terms of this funding issue, are we doing something about it? So that it's not just from the ministry. Are there plans in place?
Yes, like I said, we signed an MOU with SYDA and invariably with Africa Sports Connect in South Africa. I mentioned the name. Thabo Kubu is a very passionate individual, elderly man who is he has been to the country, met the authorities and the ministry. The man is very passionate about what we are doing, and he has promised to do everything he can to get adequate sponsorship for Rugby Nigeria in South Africa. And the federal government is doing its utmost best. So many things are involved, but I know with time we'll get over all these things.
So, sir, finally, what are we looking at in terms of vision at the end of the day? After putting out this hard work, what are you actually looking at achieving at the end of the day? What do you want to, where do you want to see Rugby?
Yes. Rugby, like I said, has been at the top. We have played Olympic qualifiers before. We have done all African games. I want us to get back to that level. But you see, it is easy to destroy something, but it is very difficult to build. When you are building, you have to be very meticulous, taking your time. But to destroy, just hit a sledgehammer on it, and everything will be destroyed. And this is a country where the corporate organizations are not really involved in sports the way they should. We only do it at the empirical level, where when you see a successful athlete or club, everybody rushes to them. But how did they get to that level? Nobody wants to know. That is the teaching problems we're having. So it will be a thing of joy for us that some individuals outside there who are very passionate, who loves rugby, could just get in touch with us and say, hey, come, let me see your programs. I'm interested in sponsoring this. We have them. They are all over the place. So it's just a clarion call to them. And while at the same time thanking African Sports Connect with SYDA, especially Mr. Thabo Kubu, for all he has been doing. And then the minister, the permanent secretary, they have been very concerned about our activities. So we are pushing it to them. We have so many debts on our neck.
Are you looking at National Sports Festival?
Definitely we have to be there. It is an irony that we've been playing National Sports Festival, we've been playing National Youth Games, we have been going outside to represent Nigeria. If you don't do National Sports Festival, how do you harness all the athletes together? It is an irony of fate that we did not play the last time, but we had so many things we are fighting for. That was why we never really bothered about that. And then making rugby an optional sport is not very good enough. When you are looking at optional sports, these are sports that the whole states wants to have advantage over all other states. So rugby should not be an optional sport in the country. We have been everywhere, we've been all over the world, we are doing very well. So why should we now go back to be an optional sport when we are having some lesser sports? I don't even want to say any sports is lesser, because at every point in time, you have individuals who are passionate about that sport, who are doing very well in those sports. So you don't call my own house a lesser house. A house is a house. It is the way I'm treating, we are doing in that house that is important. So optional sports, fine. But I think I'm looking into the future and seeing that the issue of optional sports will be raised very soon, because you don't, when you keep on saying you are not good, when will I be good when you don't give me the opportunity to be good?
So, I know I said finally that time, but just something else came up. You know, you mentioned something that you're in touch with foreign-based players. No,
Yeah.
we have a lot of players, even in England.
There are many. We traveled with
So
them.
when are we going to see them play for Nigeria? Say, like we have with football.
Yes, we actually have a 4-nation tournament. We have written to the ministry. We have been told what to do. We are trying to meet them, give them what they want. Once we do that, it's about documentation. Once we do that, I'm sure the ministry will approve the 4-nation tournament. We want to bring in 3 teams, 3 countries to Nigeria, so that we can play at the main bowl of the national stadium, where Nigerians will come and see what we have. We are really working on that.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.